and welcome to this episode of Writers Infusion. My name is Susan. We are filming live from the Cambridge Library, and I'd like to introduce the team. This is Dave, Julie, and Collette of the Reese Literary Agency is with us today as our guest critiquer, which is great. Jen's right here, and again, Ed is off camera because he is manning the screen behind us, but he will join us after we read. So, does anyone want to read this, or should I read it? Do you want to read it? All right, I'll read it. Okay, so this is, again, a middle grade excerpt, and I'll read the summary and then read the pages. And this is the beginning of the story. My 50,000 word count novel is the story of 12-year-old Gabby, 6 years after her parents' divorce. Gabby tells the story of the year her mom changed her family again with a boyfriend named Mike and a sister named Annie. Flying home. My name's Gabby. I'm 12. My parents are divorced. Some people think that means I'm some kind of kid. You know, a kid of divorce means you're doomed. Your life is over because your parents can't get along. It's not good, don't get me wrong, but divorce happens. What I know is that it doesn't have to be the thing that is you. It's just something that happens in this life. My mom says mistakes can make a life. She wrote a song for her 4th album with that title. That's what I know now, but I didn't always. I was only 6 when my parents split. Things weren't great in my house, but what did I know? I was only a kid, and I didn't have a brother or a sister to talk to about how I felt. When me and my dad and my mom lived in Boston, our house was the funnest on the street. Mom is a singer in a band, and after I was born, they moved the studio to our house so she could be home more. There were always people around and music playing, and to me, it was like living in a magic land. To Dad, it felt a little different. You know what I need to do? I just realized I'm working with a crosswalk. Oh, sure. Is it 2 weeks before? 2 weeks before it was over. Is that right?
He was finishing a degree.
He was finishing a degree in theology at Harvard, but he took care of me. I had a few babysitters who I liked a lot. There was Betty and Kelly and Sherry and Christina and Terry, but I liked it best when Dad was home. My parents fought about everything. The music being too loud, the strangers in our house, and how Dad didn't have enough time to get his work done. Mom was away so much, but the real fights, the ones that mattered, were always about me. I used to think my parents fought all the time because my mom is so dramatic and my dad is so calm. They are like oil and water, or fire and ice, or good and evil. And whatever it was that drew them together, it also ruined my family. The last fight they had, the one that ended it all, came the day after Mom left me at home. She'd forgotten it was her day to take me to school. Dad left first that morning, then Mom got up and left too. No one woke me up, and when I came down to breakfast, the kitchen was empty, so I just made myself a bowl of cereal and read a book. I was okay, really, until Dad got home and found me there unexpectedly. He wasn't calm when he called Mom. When Mom got home, I was sent upstairs. From the top of the staircase, I couldn't see them in the kitchen, but I heard every single word. I sat with my knees held tight to my chest and my pink fuzzy blankie stuffed under my nose. I remember that the hallway felt cold and dark, and I wanted to wrap my pink blankie around my heart. I didn't understand what was going on, and I felt really scared sitting there all alone. Dad said, "How could you have forgotten her today? Are you so important that our only real responsibility, our daughter, slips your mind? What is wrong with you?" I remember wanting to disappear under my blanket. Mom said, What do you do all day? You shouldn't need me to babysit her." Dad said, "What do you do all day that is so much more important than her, more important than us?" From the top of the stairs, I heard the words that changed my family forever. My mom didn't say that she was sorry for forgetting me. She didn't say that we were the most important people in her life. She didn't seem to remember that she'd forgotten us so many other times that year. Instead, my mom said, "I spend my days making money." Then there was silence. That was the last fight. That was the fight that ended my family. In the middle of 1st grade, Dad took me on a plane across the country to live with my Zadie, my grandfather, in Seattle, and we left Mom by herself in Boston. I remember holding Mom's legs, standing in front of the ticket counter in the airport. She wasn't crying when I looked up through my tears. Her face was hard to read. Dad told me to say goodbye and that I'd call her when we got to Seattle. Mom's long blonde hair was pulled back in a loose ponytail, and she wasn't wearing any makeup that day. Mom, well, she's a lot of things I don't want to be, but she is beautiful on the outside. Even then, in the airport, on the day that couldn't have been good for her either, she looked so pretty. And I can still see the people, the blurs around us, stopping for just a second to look at her. Trying to say the word goodbye is surprisingly hard when you're 6, and nothing seems right. I couldn't get my mouth to make any sound. I was crying so hard that people in the airport were turning to look at us, not just Mom. Mom kept saying, "Gabby, it's okay, you have to go, I love you." But I could barely breathe when I turned and ran back to my dad. Dad pulled me up into his arms, and we walked through the airport security. I never looked back in Mom's direction. It was the worst day of my life. Until this summer, when something happened that made me rethink everything I'd ever thought about my mom and me and love. So I feel that since I read, someone else should start. So who would like to start?
I'll start. So I feel like this story is, there's a saying in writing that everybody knows, show, don't tell. And I feel like this is all telling. Like there are some areas in here that could have been very powerful scenes, but you're just kind of telling us what happened at the airport. Show me that in a scene, like play it out, let's hear the dialogue. So I think this is could be a very emotional story, but it just didn't bring any emotion out in me because it didn't pull me in. Because it was just telling, it was like this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. I was never really pulled into the story. It felt more like an outline.
I agree with you. I think we need a scene of a family or a school event, some outing to paint a scene of their daily life before this happens, and how close she is to Dad. I don't know that. As a mom, it broke my heart. Hey, the girl's home from school alone. Does the school call the house? Does the school call the parents? She makes a bowl of cereal, reads a book, God bless her, but I don't think she would do that and remain calm. I think she'd be rather emotional. And then the second, I don't know when Dad gets home, I asked when, and whatever. And then the second mom comes home, the girl's sent upstairs. Mom needs to cuddle, Mom needs to apologize, Mom needs to give some TLC to that girl. And then she's upstairs. They don't realize she's upstairs listening to all of this and isn't with a sitter or with a neighbor or comforted by someone as they're having this fight that will end their family. So,
I mean, the mother is a very unlikable character, and I thought it was very telling that she would refer to taking care of her child as babysitting. Yes. You don't babysit your own child, yes. Right? And so I feel like, again, just, trying to be sympathetic with Gabby and trying to hate the mother. I mean, you could really make this mother very unlikable and really generate an emotional response in the reader by just throwing some of this stuff into a scene.
Well, like the scene at the airport, there's 1 or 2 sentences, but that should be a play-by-play. I mean, that's a huge scene in a person's life. So I think if you turn that into play-by-play, and I had some specific notes on how to do this, but she's there. She's not going to be thinking about other people looking at her mom and thinking they're pretty. She's bawling her eyes out. I can't stand this word, but she's got snot running down her face. Sorry.
Middle grade, let's snot.
But that's what's going on. So she's got all this running down. She's not going to notice whether anyone's looking at her. All she's going to be focusing on is her. And by the way, does she call her mom at that point? Is it mommy, mommy? She's clutching her. I don't even know if she realized that people are watching. She's only 6. And when you're 6, it's all about you.
Yeah.
When you're 12 and 15, it's also all about you. But
and she doesn't look back. She doesn't look in her mom's direction.
Oh yeah.
Dad's holding her. They're walking away.
So I think certainly that's important as a play-by-play. I probably no one will agree with me, but the first page, down the first few paragraphs, I actually liked the way it started. I mean, I think you need to move into a scene right away, but the way she says, my name's Gabby, I'm 12, my parents are divorced, and I am admittedly biased to that because I have divorced parents and who split up when they were 6. So I have to admit that when critiquing this, it's a little bit tougher for me because I can kind of picture it. So this is one of those few where I have a harder time. But I was actually okay with that first page, but then I wanted to move right into that scene play by play with her on the top of the stairs.
Yeah, I thought it was just, another thing that you don't want to do is start your story with backstory. You start the story when the story starts. right? So this is not when the story started. So so again, this could be woven in later, once you start caring about Gabby, and then maybe in a flashback or something, she can remember the fight, and then later on she can remember the goodbye at the airport. But right now I don't know what the story's about. I don't understand, like it sounds like perhaps she's going to be going back and living with her mother, is what it sounds like. But this is all backstory. And the reader needs to, and the writer needs to know this, and maybe the reader needs to know it, but not as a big info dump in the beginning of the book.
I want it to be tighter. I'm intrigued absolutely by the last line, that there's going to be a shift and she's going to appreciate her mom. But I want it to be much tighter at the start, and I often agree with you. I do not agree with you here. Forget my name's Gabby, forget I'm 12, because Dad can address her. Hi Gabby, or Gabby, come here. We'll figure that out. But my parents are divorced, boom! Drop the mom, something happens. And I think I would cut out a lot of the wording, get rid of, I'm kind of like, the kid you know, kind of like divorce means you're doomed. Just, some people think that means you're doomed. But divorce happens when I know, and then later, that's what I know now, but I didn't always, and it's just something that happened. Cut it out and make it sharper. Divorce, it's breaking my heart here. Darn these parents who raised me, because they're not getting along, and they are like oil and water, fire and ice, good and evil. Choose one, please. Please, choose one contrast and we're fine with it.
I'm thinking that this story is tragic, but it's in no way unique. There's nothing I can grab onto here that says, wow, this is a story I'm interested in. This is a sad kid, parents are divorced, they moved away, mom's a creep, dad's an angel, going to theology school. Now what? If you want to do something, I think you have to catch the kid now 12 years later or whatever it is.
And make her 12.
She's 12. She's 12, so 6 years later. Find her reacting to being divorced. Show her rebelling, because at 12, I know I hated my daughter for 2 years. At 12, she's going to be starting to act out. And at that point, there's an interesting character. Right now, I'm seeing nothing but vanilla at this point.
Yeah, like, what's unique about this one? One thing that could be unique about it is that she ends up the father, which you don't see that often. So the fact that she actually ends up with a dad could make it.
Why?
But why? And obviously the mother is neglectful, and the mother is.
Well, she wants the kid to go. She's waiting to lie to the kid.
Right.
That's why.
Right. So that might be one kind of area that it makes it somewhat unique than the typical divorce story.
But 6 years on, she's looking back and hating them, doing a big hate on mom.
Yeah.
That may make a story.
Yeah.
Right here, what I've got here now is, again, it's vanilla pudding. I need something to hold
I
on
agree.
to.
There's nothing that would differentiate it from another story about a
A divorced kid.
Right.
Now, to me, another aspect of this was, given that this is backstory, I was curious, this is kind of like the other story, where I wanted to know what was the usual so I could tell what was unusual. Like, was there ever anything good between the parents? Or was there ever anything good about this family? And that, whatever these events are, it would be interesting to see a contrast, not just, okay, uniformly bad situation and that ends.
That would make a great scene. I can see that as a 12-year-old, dad and daughter sitting down and talking about mom when they moved out. And then they would come to terms. We would now find out what kind of situation it was.
Right. Well, that's interesting because she's, where is she? Is she at an airport now?
No, I don't know where she is. Actually, don't know where she is.
It's a little info dump. We're finding out.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you could have, that kind of scene between the girl and the father. Now that if she is going back to the mother, I mean, that's an important thing. And all kind of feelings around that.
Right.
I actually need you to get that paragraph, because
From
it's a
the top of the
perfect one.
staircase.
From the top of the staircase, yeah. I think there's two really important lessons to be learned here. This is too generalized, and you saw everybody here jumping in to fill in the gaps. The story ought to be about this, the story ought to be about that, because there's no story here, right? So that's actually a good lesson for this writer. And the second lesson is when when, I want that paragraph from the top of the staircase.
Yes,
I was had a nice long ruler, and I could point to every eye in that paragraph. Look at that, right? On the top of the staircase, I couldn't see in the kitchen. I heard everything. I sat. I remember. I wanted.
Yeah.
I didn't. I felt. Well, guess what I thought? So that to me says, you know, I don't need to be harsh, but it says immature writer. That's fine. We all are when we start out. But you need to learn how to vary your sentence structure and get rid of all those I's. What's your I? Me, mine, myself. You know, and I think that paragraph couldn't be a better expression of what I wanted to get across there. And the fact that it's generalized. I filled in my whole story too. And you know what it had snakes in it. But that's because there's no story here. Not yet, anyways.
Sad, I mean, sad. I respect the author's effort in trying to elicit sympathy for the girl in showing a situation where there is a need for sympathy, and there is. Unfortunately, it's not unique enough to have me continue reading.
And then we all bring our personal stuff to it. You know, you said it bothered you, it did bother me. What I felt like your life is over because your parents can't, well, wait a minute. Some people think that means I'm some kind of kid. I don't know what
I think
that
there's a
means.
word missing.
Yes.
Some
Kind
kind
of.
of what kid?
Yeah, lost kid or wasted.
Yeah, I thought that's
And
There's a word.
maybe in MG, I don't know. You might know in MG, do they use kind of or do they spell it out kind of?
I'm reversed to as an English teacher, but there's a lot of going
Okay, I think it depends on the voice of the character. I think you might see it.
Trying to sound like a kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
it
she
doesn't
doesn't
make-
in certain
No.
places. She sounds way too mature when she's
Yeah.
supposed to be 6-year-old.
Yeah.
I wanted to hide under my blankie. I'd be thrilled if I had a kid who could have sophisticated thought like that at the age of 6. you know?
Yeah, I wanted to wrap it around my heart. Like, that's
Yes.
not something that a
It's
12-year-old
something
can
you say,
say.
you know?
To-
Or 6-year-old.
To go on something that you said, I picked up on that word babysit too. There were
Yes,
there were
yes.
several places in this where something hit me and it's like, oh, this is going to be good. Because the mother says, you know, why should I babysit her? And you don't babysit your child, as you said. And I was waiting for I was turning the page. It's like, oh, he's going to pounce on this. No, he doesn't. He doesn't pounce on this.
Well, what's ironic is she's supposed to get a ride to school. It isn't even watching the child. She was supposed to have been just to drive the girl to school. Oh, sorry.
And then there was, they argue a little bit. Then there was silence. And I'm like, oh, now we're going to talk about how silence is worse than an argument.
No.
That's not here. And it's like, I kept coming up with that. It's like, oh, no, this has got, no.
I wanted someone to go upstairs or leave the house, slam a door.
Yeah.
It's just silent and then that was
Yeah,
the
I think there are lots of opportunities
Yeah, there
for
are.
really interesting things to come out of this. So,
Well, again, I mean, does everyone think it should start here when she's 6, or should she, start when
Well,
she's
she
12?
does say
Stop.
excerpt up here, so we don't really know where that's coming from, do we?
It's supposed to be
That's
the
true.
beginning,
Well,
because when
it's
someone
the beginning.
submits, they have to
I mean, the first words
choose
are flying
what part of the
home.
story they're sending to
Yeah,
us.
but when she
Yes.
said excerpt, I thought she meant.
You know why I write excerpt?
Oh.
Because I don't want people to think it's the whole story. Otherwise, we'll make
Sometimes
short
we get
stories.
pictures.
Yeah, sometimes.
but it says flying home. That's, I
So
think
this
it's
is
flying home.
when she's 12,
This is when she's 12.
coming back.
Oh, right.
And she considers still where one
Oh, now that's interesting
That's
too.
interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So-
Yeah, like it could start when she gets off the plane at 12 from California or wherever she moved, and her mother's waiting there. Maybe she hasn't seen her mother for 6 years, and it could start there with an awkwardness
Or
or
with the father before she gets on the plane.
some kind of emotional separation at least.
why is she going back to the mother to
We don't want to be
die?
like this.
I know.
There's so many ways there's so many ways you could go, so that's what I mean, it's an outline, and it's a good breeding ground for ideas.
Well,
But the other
it's a
thing
writing
is-
prompt for a reading group.
Yes.
But Dave was saying about it not being unique, so if she is getting off the plane and it starts there and her mom is waiting, if her mother is this famous singer,
Maybe
then
she goes
that's-
on tour.
Right, I mean, that's already, it's not just
Something.
any person.
Yeah.
The mother is also unique, which is obvious, is
Yeah.
making the story.
Or maybe the
right
mother doesn't
there.
even pick her up from the airport. She
Maybe
hasn't seen her
it's
kid in
a
6 years, like, he picks her up.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's
Or
very
her
telling, and then brings her to the
Right.
concert,
Or
you know,
a
and,
limo or something.
you know,
Well, I think
so
we've got a better story.
we do.
It's
We should
a
already
suggestion.
If I don't know if it's true in MG, but you don't ever want to start anything you're writing with a plane ride, because it becomes very cliche. I see too many, like you guys, one of you earlier mentioned weather, protagonist is running down the hall.
Waking up in the morning.
But that's exactly what I was They have a nightmare. It turns out it wasn't a real scene, it was a nightmare. The alarm goes off, the phone goes off. You don't want to start, and unfortunately, riding on a plane has become a bit of a cliche too. But one of you said something about the roadie picking on her up instead of the mother. That is an excellent detail.
See, I have one once in a while.
That right away tells you, hey, there's something off here if the mother couldn't get there
After
herself.
6 years, not figure out
And it
herself.
sends a roadie, so that's good, but you don't want her on the plane, trying to decide if she can convince the stewardess to give her, flight attendant to give her a glass of champagne or something. Or maybe you do, now we really got an interesting movie. But you understand what I meant.
Yes.
Certain things have become such cliches.
And just the dichotomy between the parents, like one is a rock star and one is a theology, right? So even just how she was raised by her father, and then she's going to go to this rock star mother. Yeah,
How did they ever get
there's a lot
together?
of- there's a lot
Well,
of-
you want me to answer that?
Maybe that's why he's a theology student. He wants to pull himself, bring himself in from his wildlife and coming back.
Yes, tell me how that went. I don't get it.
No, I'm not going to go into that.
Okay.
They met in a bar.
But I think the fact that everyone is using this as a springboard for their ideas shows you that there's something there,
Yeah.
but it hasn't been developed.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
And we could all come up with a million different variations on this.
Yep.
Again, when the writer listens, she shouldn't get discouraged. Hopefully she'll get inspired. And I can guarantee you all, something as an agent, if she uses any of your ideas, none of you are going to get any credit.
Hey, we want you to succeed, Joyce. We want you to
Well,
succeed.
that's good to know.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't copyright an idea.
And I know that Joyce is writing this because she wants to help kids who have been going through a divorce or going, dealing with that. So,
All right, and in that case, you have to be very careful not to be preachy. If you're trying to, if you're writing a children's book to get a point across, if it's preachy, the kids aren't going to listen. You really have to be careful if that's your motivation for writing a story.
Empathy, absolutely empathy.
Yeah.
I teach 7th grade, all these kids think they're the only ones going through the particular issues unless someone else is, or they find a character in a book that, they have this recognition. I'm baffled by the title of this, Girls I Love Best.
I was
Is it
too.
girls? Is it her mom? Is it the new sister Annie? I don't know what I've
Yes, well, I didn't
miss
find
it.
out.
To see. Yes.
Right, anything else? Okay, so thank her for submitting, and we hope that this helps. We also marked up the pages, as you know, and they're posted right underneath the video on our website. So we are done with this edition of Writers Infusion. We will see you next time. Thanks for coming, and keep writing.
Yeah.